Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, we're talking all about some interior design ideas that you need to stop wasting your money on and wasting my time on, but that's not the point. Now, the first thing we have to talk about is all about renovating. It's all about renovating to update. Sometimes we look at a space and we're like, you know what, it just looks dated. I don't like it. We want to update it. But you have to be careful when you're doing that, because sometimes updating a space doesn't make the most sense, or sometimes it's better to leave it original. You know, I always like to say, if you're renovating a space, it needs to be consistent with the rest of the house. And I think that goes for anything you're doing in your home, actually. I think you need to look at consistency, because that really is key. And what do I mean by that? If you have a Tuscan style home, right? Like, it's maybe not the most up-to-date thing. It's definitely not the most dated thing either, but some people are just over it. So maybe you have a Tuscan style home and you have a Tuscan style primary bathroom that you're like, Garrett, you know what? I'm over it. It's done. I'm sick of it. I need something current, something up to date. We want to renovate it. I think that's great. But when you are renovating it, you don't want to go the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Some people will look at a bathroom and be like, hey, we're renovating. It's empty right now. Do the latest, the most modern thing. And that's not always the best thing to do. You can take inspiration from that, look at the shapes and the lines of these modern bathrooms, and then reinterpret that using the color schemes or the materials that are already in your home. If you have travertine floors everywhere, don't put marble in the bathroom, put travertine in the bathroom. If you have that kind of speckled granite countertop everywhere and you don't hate it, put it in the bathroom. Don't use something completely different. You want those materials to be consistent. That way, that bathroom feels like it belongs in the home. It doesn't feel like a jarring area that makes no sense. I cannot even begin to tell you the number of homes I have been in where one bathroom was updated but nothing else was. So my options are either gut everything else and update that to match the bathroom, or tear out the bathroom and make it more consistent with what's happening in the rest of the home, because sometimes you want to update something that isn't necessarily dated. I always think it's best to do renovations if something has a quality issue, if it's breaking down and can't be repaired, if it's functionally obsolete. That's the time to look at completely redoing something. Just renovating for the sake of updating may not always make the most sense. You also want to make sure you're not in a space that's very desirable kept in original condition, because you may be doing yourself a disservice in the long term. The next thing I am begging you to stop wasting your money on is going into a store and just picking things out. Okay, this can be fun. I love to shop around. I love to look at things, but you will end up with a space that feels a little bit hodgepodge if you only select things you like based on the fact you like them. I see hundreds of things that I like all of the time. Every single day I see something I like that I don't already have. But if I bought all of them, my house would make no sense, because I have a great appreciation for beautiful design no matter what it is. No matter the style, no matter what the piece is, I love great design, just like all of you do. So when I see something, I can't buy it, otherwise my house would be packed to the brim and all of it would make no sense. We have to be a little bit more strategic when we're selecting finishes, materials for furniture, for our home, for renovations. Take a look at this space here. Independently, all of the finishes in here are okay. I like the red fireplace, the wall color is not terrible, the floor tile is not great, but there's maybe a time and a place for it where this would look good. All of them together, though, doesn't make a lot of sense. It looks like somebody walked into a store and saw that tile and was like, that's the latest thing. I have to have it. That's perfect for the basement renovation. Keep the brick fireplace. I like the brick. Oh, that paint color looks good. We'll go with that. But they don't all look good together. They look good independently, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So now there's a bigger issue here. How do we decorate around this? How do we make it make sense? Or do we have to re-renovate it? If whoever this homeowner was chose to use a tile that was a little bit more neutral, maybe a little bit brighter, more of a creamy white tone, the space would look brighter, it would feel more timeless, and on top of it, it would be easier to decorate in, and the brick fireplace would really stand out and be beautiful. So sometimes you have to get the materials you already have in place, take them with you when you're making those selections, because it makes making those decisions so much easier, and you end up with a space that's easier to decorate, but looks more beautiful and more elegant, more timeless in the long term, and doesn't have to have somebody like me looking at a picture of it and going like, it's literally hideous and disgusting. What were you thinking when you made those selections? It actually would look beautiful instead. So you always want to go in with a mindset of, here's what I have on hand. Here are the materials we're already using. Here's the paint color. What's going to work best with that? What will look good with that? You look at shapes and lines, forms of furniture pieces and say, what colors are these available in? What's going to work most cohesively with what I have going on? And then you make your decisions. And the same thing goes for choosing materials for your home. You never just walk into a store, a shop, or whatever it is and say, oh, you know, like I like that. That's the newest thing. Great. That's wonderful. Put it in. It doesn't end up looking good. It doesn't look like there's a lot of thought behind it, because there's not, other than the fact that you like it. And you should like everything you're bringing into your home, but having your materials on hand will narrow down the selection and what your options are, allowing you to make better decisions and easier decisions. One of the things that I'm always having to talk about and fix in homes is functionality. That's a key principle of interior design. We want spaces that are functional. But the mistake I see all of the time people making is they want spaces to be pretty. They want them to look good, and that's the first thing they focus on. Hey, we all want our homes to look beautiful and look good, so I'm not saying that's wrong, but that has to go in line with functionality. Form and function go hand in hand, not one in front of the other. So if you have a space that does not function but looks good, it doesn't matter because it doesn't function. You can't use it anyway. There are so many examples you could take into consideration of how to explain this, right? If you have, let's say, a nightstand and you want something that's a little bit more open so the space feels bigger. If you get a nightstand that doesn't have storage and you need storage, now you have a bunch of stuff on top of the nightstand all around the base of it because there's nowhere to put it. And now you just completely eliminated the beauty you brought into the space because there's no function. So having a nightstand that has a couple of drawers in it but has taller legs will get you the best of both worlds. Having form and function together is going to make a space beautiful and functional and easier to live in the long term. Functionality is key. It's an essential. It is literally a core element of design for a reason. We live in homes. They have to work for us, and you need to be keeping that in mind. So what I always say is, whenever you're looking for something, consider how you're using that area or how you could use that area more if things were different, and then start looking at alternatives and what can we bring into the space that's going to increase that? What's going to make it work better? Like in this studio, I have a lot of rugs and soft furnishings because I need that for the audio. Right? So I'm looking for soft furnishings, and I can't just sit here and say, okay, do the wood floors, I want to see them, and that's great. No, I have to have rugs. That brings the functionality into this room. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to use it for what I'm doing right now. The same thing goes for in your living room. If you like to sit on your sofa and read a book, you need to have lighting. You need to have a lamp there. Otherwise, you can't do that. So you just have a sofa that's not being used. You want functionality in your home, and that's an essential to design. So you want it to be beautiful, but function comes first, and then you can focus on making things beautiful. Look for the right color, fabric, material, finish that's going to bring that beauty into the space, but the functionality is all in the shape and the usage. That's what you want to focus on first before you decide on what the overall look is going to be and the colors you're choosing. One of the biggest wastes of money when it comes to interior design is all about social media, and more specifically those viral hacks and products we see all of the time. I can't tell you how many times I see some little video on some social media site all about, you have to buy this, it's the most amazing, and this, and it's incredible, whether it's like, a vacuum for your countertops, like, okay, I could wipe down the countertops, but whatever, or, a toaster with a touch screen. All of these are really fun, but sometimes they don't last. Sometimes they're not necessarily the best thing. Sometimes they're smarter than we really need things to be, and they can definitely be a waste of money, especially if they break down later. So you want to be really careful about what you're doing, what hacks, what trends you see. Like there was one a while ago where it was people were cutting up toilet paper rolls and putting them into their drapes, okay, to like space them out. I feel like I could have just spaced them out because now I can't use the drapes because they're full of toilet paper. well, toilet paper rolls. And toilet paper and drapes, I don't feel like that goes hand in hand together, okay? Like at any point. So I'm just saying that right now, like whether it's a toilet paper roll or not, there are just some hacks that are kind of a waste of time, that are kind of a waste of money, and you don't have to put into your home because everybody already has them and everybody's doing it, only to find out later that it didn't really make it that much sense to begin with. There are certain hacks that I love. You know, I have my painted outlet cover hack. I'm obsessed with. I love that so much because I hate seeing outlets standing out in my house, especially if you have a rich colored wall. I don't want to see it. So these paintable outlet covers are great, but there's not a lot of moving parts there. You're not having to do rewiring and all of this electrical stuff and that. It's not something that's going to just break down. It's just a painted outlet cover. So that's something really easy, but some of these really smart things, they're not so smart in the long term. I don't need everything to be connected to Wi-Fi and doing all of this and that and everything. I feel like sometimes simple is better. Sometimes having a little switch or a knob works better than having Wi-Fi or a touch screen or whatever, because those things can easily break down if they're not really high quality, which is why, you know, your cell phone is so expensive, because it's made to last a little while longer than some cheap touch screen on some viral product you bought off of some online website or whatever. Be mindful of where you're putting your money and what you're putting it into. You want things that are quality, that are going to last, and that doesn't always mean the smart home features are the best thing. When we talk about social media, we have to talk about something I always talk about, and I think it's important to mention again, and that's all about jumping on these trends we see. I know we absorb a lot on social media. You see a lot, there's a lot of great design out there, and we see a lot of influencers that are changing things all of the time. They're bringing something new in, or they're creating a DIY. But making content means that you have to make content. And sometimes that home decor content is the easiest thing to make, or a brand wants to work with influencers and will send them all new furniture or sponsor a video. And so you're seeing that. You want to be careful before you jump on any of these trends to make sure that it's actually something you like and not something that you're just exposed to and feel a certain pressure to have. You want to genuinely make sure you really enjoy things. And I know that there's lots of like hacks and DIYs out there that also become very trend driven, and you see a lot of people doing them. You want to be careful about those too, because sometimes it's like, oh hey, take this painting and go cover it with plaster, and then, you know, maybe it looks cool for a couple of weeks, but then you start to realize like, wait a second, I plastered over a painting. Like the painting was actually pretty good, I liked it, now I have it covered in plaster. Like there's no going back from that. So you also want to be careful about those types of trends as well. Social media is a great place to have fun. Hey, we're on it right now, and I love that for me, but you also want to be careful about the content you're absorbing and what you're getting out of that. You want to put a lot of thought into what you're bringing into your home, what you're following and what you're seeing, and making sure it's actually going to be timeless for you in the long run, not just timeless for another couple of months until somebody else does something different and now you feel the need to do that as well. Have a vision about what you want your home to look like, the overall design, decor, interiors, all of it, and then let that guide you. And you can have a lot of fun doing some of these little trendy things, but you want to be sure you have that vision in place so that you can stay true to what you intended, and you can have a space that's actually very timeless. Now you know some of the things that I don't think you need to waste your money on when it comes to interior design, but sometimes we have to put a little bit into it and get rid of some of these hideous furniture items that I hate, and you should too. So be sure you check out this video right here, and I will see you over there.